And say good morning. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Today is Friday, March 27th, 2026. As April is approaching. So, Sweet 16 already started last night. For the men's Sweet 16 continues today. Women's Sweet 16 begins today. So, we're excited about that at this week. So, we're trying to get these topics started here today on this morning cap. So, we should get things started. What we transpired here last night. So before we get to this thing started, opening day began yesterday. It was really good yesterday as far as opening day for Major League Baseball. We've been talking about this the entire week. The Mets scored 11 runs yesterday. 5 of them were against Paul Skeens in the first inning. And Paul Skeens, out of the game in the first inning, he did not reach 1 inning. He went 2/3 of the inning. He went 2/3 of the inning in the first inning. The Mets had 11 runs, 11 hits. Nine walks. So that was a huge one there. So, and then the Dodgers game yesterday, they were down 2-0, ended up winning 8-2. Against Arizona. So that's Will Smith went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a home run. He had a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 5th inning against Zach Gallen. And then Indy Paez went 2 for 4 with a 3-run home run as well. Yamamoto pitched 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs without a walk, struck out 6. And he was the winning pitcher last night. No surprise. He pitched really well. Even he gave up a 2-run shot to Purdue in the 4th inning. Other than that, he pitched really well. So, Dodgers, no fluke, equals a win, 8-2. The Dodgers are 1-0. They have 161 games left to play. That doesn't mean they're going 162-0. They're not going to do that. That's clearly impossible. All right, so let's start with March Madness for the men's. What happened last night? We've seen a couple of great thrillers in their respective regions last night. Let's start with the West region. the first game, Purdue Boilermakers battles. Number 2 Purdue Boilermakers has battled to take on against number 11 Texas Longhorns, and the winner advances to Elite 8 for tomorrow. So it was a really incredible finish. Dalen Swain makes a 2-pointer, and he draws a foul against Clough for the N1, and then Swain able to complete a 3-point play to tie it to make it 77-77. And then, final seconds, Braden Smith tried to go for a layup. He misses that one. Kaufman not only grabs the offensive rebound, Trey Kaufman-Wren with a game-winning tip layup with 1 second left to make it 79-77. Then Texas had a chance to heave it, and the shot was way off the mark as Purdue survives and advances to Elite 8 to face who? We'll find out. We'll find out a little bit later on in this segment. So, it was a hard-fought game throughout this contest. So, who had a better performance? There's none other. Trey Kaufman-Wren had 20 points, 8 for 10 field goals, 8 rebounds, including a game-winning tip layup. And then Fletcher Lawyer (18 points, 4 made 3-pointers). He was pretty good as well. So Matt Painter, Purdue head coach, says we done this all. We're supposed to be a Final Four juggernaut team. And their offense, they got so many good players on offense. They can score into the paint, mid-range. They're one of the best in the game at it. 3-point shooting at times is good. But remember, yesterday, Purdue won the game despite they shot 20% from long range, which is 4 for 20 from long range. They didn't shoot the 3-point basket well, but that's okay. How they won it? Purdue had 11 offensive rebounds. I mean, both offenses played well last night, by the way, including Texas. Tremont Mark had a nice game last night. He had 29 points, 5 made 3-pointers. He was great. And you seen Swain had 15 points. Bocalis didn't do much. He only had 9 points. He had 4 fouls as well. So, Texas, y'all did your thing, man. Even though the run came to an end, but at least you got all the way to Sweet 16. But you could have won that game if it wasn't for that game-winning tip-in. Then Texas would have been advanced to Elite 8. But that was really unfortunate. All right, so let's go another wild throw. Let's transition to the South region. Let's transition to the South region. Iowa Hawkeyes pull off a gigantic stunner against the rivalry foe, Nebraska Cornhuskers. Iowa Hawkeyes defeated Nebraska Cornhuskers 77-71. What's the final score? And how Iowa beat Nebraska last night. Sage and Fergueris and Sturts had their second half prolific offense. So let's just say this. It was 65-62 Cornhuskers with 6 minutes and 15 seconds to play. And Iowa, so the game ended a 12-6 run in favor of Iowa Hawkeyes. And largely, it's been defense. And Iowa shot 52% from the field, 43% from downtown, which is pretty good. And they held Nebraska just 41% from the field, 34% from long range. And they were down as many as 10 points for Iowa, and they ended up winning the game. That's how good they are. How good is Iowa? Who would have thought that Iowa is one of the most surprises Cinderella, even though they're not double digits, they're number 9 in the South region. This Iowa team, like I said, they're just one step closer to get to the Final Four. I said Iowa has a better shot to make the Final Four. Did I say that? And now their job is not finished yet. They got to face whoever won that game last night between Illinois and Houston. I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. So, congratulations to Iowa. You are moving on to Elite 8. And then Arizona with a dominant 109-88 win. The offense clearly puts on the show. Despite the Wildcats only had 8 3-point attempts. They made 5 of them, 63% from long range. They did shoot 69% overall in the game from the field. So that was a great mark. And Arizona's defense holding to 22% from long range against Arkansas, 5 for 23 for Arkansas last night. Razorbacks just can't do anything offensively as far as 3-point shooting. But who had a big game for Arizona is Braden Burries. He had 23 points, 2 threes, 5 rebounds. You also had Koa Pete. He had 20 points, 3 rebounds. And their defense is really, really good. And now Arizona is moving on to Elite 8. That's a good thing for them. Now you can see in his own way right now. But you gotta get Arizona a bunch of credit where credit is due. Arkansas, disappointing, they didn't come away with a win, but at least you got yourself to Sweet 16. Darius Acup Jr. had 28 points, but Thomas had 17 for Arkansas. Malik Thomas, 17 points, but wasn't just too much Arizona last night. And then Illinois gets pulls off the greatest win of the year to defeat Houston 65 to 55. Number 3, Illinois beats number 2, Houston by 10 points. And guess who was the leader in that game for Illinois? Merkovich had 14 points, 10 rebounds. But the biggest story is their defense. The defense was great last night. They held to Houston just 34% from the field, 28% from downtown. And that's Illinois. Their defense is fantastic last night. So that was that. And Houston, another disappointment for the Houston Cougars. They had a chance to go back to the Final Four this year after they got sour taste in their mouths in the national championship game last year against Florida. Last night, the offense was bad. In fact, we had 46 combined points between these two teams in the first half. Illinois had 24, Houston had 22. They only had 46 combined points in the first half last night. That's one of the lowest point totals in Sweet 16 history. It's been great defense, heavy rebounding. But Illinois had an 18-point lead in the second half or something like that. But they still managed to win the game. But Houston Cougars, they had a chance, like I said, they had a chance to make the Final Four. Like I said, it ends with a disappointment. It ends with a disappointment, unfortunately. It's bad. It's too bad. It's too bad you need to go through this. It's too bad. It's too bad you need to go through this. It's tough. Now, today, we have Sweet 16 Part 2. We have the East and Midwest region in action today. Let's start with the Midwest region first. Let's see who's in action today. Today, for the Midwest region, you got number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll take on number 2. We'll take on number 1 Michigan Wolverines. So, we talk about Michigan, one of the most physical teams in college basketball. Alabama got to the Sweet 16 in, let's start with Alabama first. Alabama, this team is resilient. Nate Oates has done a good job. This Crimson Tide team has been resilient right from the get-go. Even though Alabama's three-point shooting numbers have been down this season, but they're still one of the most dangerous teams in the Midwest region. I mean, beating Michigan is not going to be easy because Michigan's offense has been great in this tournament compared to Michigan's team offensively is differing. The efficiency this tournament is better than it differs offensively in the regular season and the conference tournament. Michigan is a great defensive ball club. They can rebound, they can block shots, they can force some turnovers. They got championship potential now. Michigan's got championship potential with Dustin May. Is it Dustin or Dusty? Dusty May. Became a Michigan head coach. I think this is to make sure that he wants to be part of this. And I really love to see how this is going to work out here today. Next one, we'll stick with the Midwest region. We got number 6 Tennessee Volunteers take on number 2 Iowa State Cyclones. So, how Iowa State got to the Sweet 16. Well, big story for them. Iowa State they have a pretty good chance to advance to Elite Eight. Because I think this defense is very impressive so far this year. We know about the paint scoring and their rebounding. That's been key for Iowa State all season long. And that's been that. As for Tennessee, Tennessee is a resilient basketball team, one of the most resilient basketball teams in college basketball. The reason why they get to Sweet 16 is experience, is experiencing players who can have a chance to make the NBA. I mean, this is one of the tumultuous times that several teams that they can make it to Sweet 16 just in the nick of time. As a matter of fact, this team has shown a good moment here. And it's something you really want to learn. All right, let's transition to the East region. Let's see who's in action tonight. For the East region, you got number 5, St. John's Red Storm will take on number 1, Duke Blue Devils. Duke has won the first 2 tournament games, same as St. John's. But Duke has not played their best 2 tournament games so far. So far, they snuck out against Siena. They had a battle against TCU until they ran away. They beat TCU in round 32. So John Shire was thrilled that they got a long rest before their action today in Washington, D.C. Hopefully Duke could make this a Final Four run and maybe a national championship run. Duke has a pretty good chance. I'm just saying. We just want to make sure it's clear enough. You can clear your head and all that stuff. For St. John's, last game they pulled off a game-winning 2-pointer. So now St. John's is clearly underdogs today. They had a chance to pull off this upset against a potential championship-minded Duke. And then the biggest game of the day, we got 2 iconic coaches. You got number 3, Michigan State, Tom Izzo, one of the winningest head coach in Michigan State program history. Take on number 2, UConn. Dan Early has won 2 national titles. Michigan State versus UConn, it doesn't get any better than this. They're the 2 most physical teams in college basketball. Maybe top 3, I should say. Top 3 most physical teams in college basketball. Duke, Michigan State, and UConn. Michigan State, I mean, the guards, the bigs. UConn has guards and stretch wings. But these games are going to be clearly the deciding factor in this game. Maybe it could have been different, but it's not. You came back with your own. So, all right, so my predictions. Who am I picking today? Let's start in the East region. I picked Duke over St. John's. They have a chance to go to the Elite Eight. UConn and Michigan State, interesting. Should I go with Michigan State or should I take UConn? This is a close call. I have to go with UConn. It'll be UConn versus Duke in the Elite Eight. For the Midwest region, should I pick Michigan or Alabama? I picked Michigan to win the Sweet 16. And then Tennessee or Iowa State. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win. So for Elite Eight, parts of the Elite Eight has been revealed tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the first game in the South region. We got Iowa will take on Illinois. A 4 versus 3 matchup in the South region. The winner will head to the Final Four. And then number 2 Purdue in the West region. West region has number 2 Purdue take on number 1 Arizona. And also the winner will be determined in the Final Four. So my Elite Eight on Sunday predictions, it'll be Tennessee and Michigan. That'll be a good matchup. And then you got, that's the Midwest region. For the East region, I predict UConn and Duke. And the winner goes to the Final Four. So we'll have to find out what's going on in the next couple of days or so. So you got to keep this thing in mind. That's not the worst case scenario at all. So you got to keep your mindset a little bit. So we're getting ready for Sweet 16. We're ready for this. We are all ready. So you can pull off a miracle if you want to, but now you have a chance. Let's just say you have a chance to get into to the national championship, and that's that. Before I move on to the next segment, who are in the women's Sweet 16 between today and tomorrow. Today is the 27th. Fort Worth Region 1 and Sacramento Region 2 will have today's Sweet 16s. Sacramento Region 4 and Fort Worth Region 3 will have tomorrow. Sweet 16 for the Fort Worth Region 1, we have number 6 Notre Dame and number 2 Vanderbilt. We have number 4 North Carolina taking number 1 UConn. That's the Fort Worth Region 1. And then Sacramento Region 2, we had number 1 UCLA taking on number 4 Minnesota. We had number 3 Duke taking on number 2 LSU. That's the Sacramento Region 2. And then tomorrow, Sweet 16 continues. We have Sacramento Region 4. We have number 4 Oklahoma taking number 1 South Carolina. We had number 10 Virginia taking number 3 TCU. And then Fort Worth Region 3, we have number 3 Louisville taking number 2 Michigan. Then number 5 Kentucky taking number 1 Texas. That's the women's Sweet 16 bracket between today and tomorrow. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. All right, let's move on to this. The NFL draft is less than a month away. NFL draft will start from April 23rd through April 25th. April 23rd is first round only. April 24th is second and third round. And then April 25th is rounds 4 through 7. It's been that way over the years. Right now, NFL draft is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Raiders will hold the number 1 pick in this NFL draft. So I'm going to ask this question. As far as quarterback positions in the draft, unfortunately, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the draft class this year than the years past. Here are the quarterbacks: Fernando Mendoza, number 1. Number 2, Ty Simpson. Number 3, Garrett Nesmeyer. Number 3, Carson Beck. Actually, yeah, it's Mendoza number 1, Simpson number 2, Nussmeyer number 3, Beck number 4, Drew Aller number 5. So those are the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft. And then you got Taylor Green from Arkansas, Cole Payton from North Dakota State, Sawyer Robertson with Baylor. Diego Pavia is declaring the NFL draft. So, who is the X factor of this NFL draft? Should the Cardinals draft Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt? If they do, that's a huge win. That is a huge win for the Cardinals. That doesn't mean he's not a first rounder. The Cardinals could draft Diego Pavia. They could draft him because the Arizona Cardinals have their quarterback issues. Hold on a second. So the Cardinals should draft Diego Pavia. So let's just say this. Should Arizona draft Diego Pavia? So with Cardinals releasing Kyler Murray early this month, here's the 2026 Cardinals potential quarterback depth chart. You had Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew. So now if they draft Diego Pavia, so that's that. So if they draft Pavia, that's huge, which means they can battle for the number 2 depth chart Gardner Minshew should win this one. Then Jacoby Brissett remains the Cardinals roster in 2026. So that's that. Jacoby Brissett remains the Cardinals quarterback. So Mike LaFleur is the Cardinals head coach. So the NFL draft, if they decided to draft Diego Pavia, that's a huge win. That doesn't mean he's a number 3 pick in this draft. He could be a second rounder, maybe a third rounder. Will he start in the near future? Yeah. He's not going to start right now. No way. Give Brissett or Minshew an opportunity to start, to see what he learns from. So Cardinals do need a quarterback in this draft to ensure that the quarterback play would. Look, I said ensure that the quarterback play needs to be adjusted. I said that already. The Cardinals quarterback position would be the weak spot from here on out. All right, let's move forward. Which other teams they need a quarterback at the draft? Who could be Pittsburgh Steelers? Oh yeah, the Steelers have not yet signed bring Aaron Rodgers back. So right now, Aaron Rodgers, as of now, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to return. I'm not sure. You draft Ty Simpson and you turned out that way, you might be okay with that. You might be okay with it. You might be okay with to draft Ty Simpson. You just rely on your younger quarterbacks. Understandable. But it doesn't turn out as well as it's like it to be. But it would have been cool if it was. But it's just like that. You just don't want to have that happen because of this. It's going to be different because these guys just need to move on and play the game. You gotta play the game. It's about it. Then there's a different story that you're gonna face them around. But you know how sweet it is. It's a really tough war right now against you. But it's already limited in this one here. So we gotta fight through this. The NFL draft. So the biggest story: can the Steelers draft a quarterback this offseason? If so, how they can do that? They gotta look at the film, see how good that man is. Ty Simpson would be the guy to draft him. The Steelers should draft Ty Simpson from Alabama. We gotta do this. They gotta do this. Otherwise, they got no quarterback. And the AFC North Division is expected to be competitive. Let's see if Pittsburgh can turn the corner as far as quarterback position. All right, I'm going to take a 20-second breather. All right, let's move on. Let's talk Luka Doncic of Los Angeles Lakers as Lakers headed back home to face the Nets. Luka Doncic is making an MVP push. To try and make his own path to look one year. So here's the question. Should Luka Doncic should Luka Doncic to be a top 3 MVP candidate, despite the fact that several players are facing a disqualification of the 65-game rule? Well, it is a close call. I'm going to say yes to this, even though he's overrated as hell, as he should. Luka Doncic is one of the greatest all-around scorers all season long. This is going to be this is the biggest run for Doncic in Doncic's career. The biggest scoring run in Doncic's career. Can you prove that Luka Doncic will pull off his career best season? There's nothing else you can take away from. If it turns out you don't win your MVP after you pull off the greatest season of your career, that's really I mean, it hurts some, but not a lot. But SGA is an all-around player. Jaylen Brown's having a solid year. Yeah, Jokic, he plays very well despite the injuries. But Luka, should he make case to be top? No. I mean, Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the world, without a shadow of doubt. Victor Wembanyama should be top 3. And for Luka Doncic, I don't think he should be top 3 MVP voting. I don't think so. Some would say yes, but I said no. Despite the big run he's been putting on, he's just overrated. But damn, he's one hell of a player than that. You were asking me that should Luka be top 3 in the MVP voting? I shouldn't put him the top 3 on the list. I should put top 5. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this. But someone has to take an MVP consideration. You got SGA, you got Jokic, you got Wembanyama, you got Jaylen Brown, you got Luka Doncic. Y'all can do better than that. If that's the case, then this is a different story. This is a different story. You're already putting yourself in a really good prime position, and that's not the case. But we already know that Luka is one of the best players in the league. Not the best players in the league. But, and I tell you what, if Luka wants to continue scoring in a deep postseason run for the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron's got to carry that load too. Because you ain't out your mind. But JJ Redick, second season as Lakers head coach, this is no joke. I know your team is 47-26. That's the record this season, and you're sitting third place in the Western Conference. And it's going to stay that way until the end of the year. Last time Lakers were a third place finisher in the West, they got throttled in the first round in 5 games by Minnesota. Minnesota outsmarts you, they outplayed you, and they outscored you. And clearly, the Lakers, coming into that postseason, the Lakers are one of the biggest major concerns heading to the postseason. They should be a first-round exit because Minnesota is the team to beat to probably get to the Western Conference Finals. And Minnesota got to the Conference Finals over the last couple of years. So the Western Conference standings between 3 and 7 has been more chaotic. But now, Lakers need to put a few wins together to not put Suns in the tiebreaker with the Lakers. You don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. No way. But this is what the MVP case is all about. As for the Eastern Conference, Charlotte Hornets got the W last night, defeating the New York Knicks. 3-way tie between the Magic and the Heat and Hornets. Magic is number 8, Hornets number 9, Heat number 10. So if the play-in tournament began today, it will be Magic at the 76ers, battle for the 7th seed, then Heat and Hornets racing for the 8th spot of the East. And right now, you got Pistons number 1, Celtics number 2, Knicks number 3, Cavs number 4, Hawks number 5, Raptors number 6. I mean, this is a tight Eastern Conference. We know Pistons have clinched the playoffs, most likely clinching the number 1 seed, even without Cade Cunningham. So, which Eastern Conference teams has a better chance to make a deep playoff run outside of Boston? I'm going to say the Atlanta Hawks. Who would have thought this Hawks team has played their best basketball? And they're playing the Celtics tonight in Boston. Dyson Daniels has played out of his mind. I mean, those games are going to matter. They got a huge game ahead of it. And that's that. So Hornets with a 114-103 victory over the Knicks. Canepo had 26 points. Miller had 21. LaMelo Ball had 22. Come off Hornets, the previous game against the Kings, they come off a 26 made three-pointer performance in a blowout win. Hornets have made 42 three-pointers over their last 2 games and resulted 2 wins. The Hornets are one of the biggest stories in the NBA. If the Hornets can make the playoffs, this has got to be the biggest story in recent NBA history. I mean, And ain't nothing wrong with that, but it's already good and written in this one. You can't tell anyone that. I'm gonna take a breather for 20 seconds. All right, let's close it out here. It's been a good week. We had opening day. Opening day began 2 days ago. It's opening week in Major League Baseball. We already know that. Sweet 16 for the men's began yesterday. It continues today. Women's Sweet 16 begins today. Elite 8 for women's doesn't start till Sunday. For the men's is tomorrow. So we're going to keep that in mind. So I will recap the Elite 8 between tomorrow and Sunday's game. I will recap that on Monday. And then I'll recap the Knicks and the Thunder, Warriors and the Nuggets. I'll recap both of these games from Sunday to Sunday's game on Monday. I'll get to that as well. So we are just excited that Sweet 16 Elite 8 week is here. The winners will advance to the Final Four next weekend, and then we're looking forward to that here. That sounded really, really, really good on this one. It's been a fun week. Expect to be even better next week as April approaches. April 1st will be next Wednesday. So we'll be back in action on March 30th, which is on Monday. So this is JDB's Morning Cap. It's the best way to say you have a nice and have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you later.